Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man. I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball, who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Mike Washington is out on assignment. I think he's celebrating his New Year early. Charles, you got any big plans? You going out?
Yeah, going out a little bit later on. Probably get a nice dinner tonight, and you know, toast the night away.
Nice. Some of us gonna enjoy it on the couch.
There it is. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, just have a nice little bottle. Watch everybody else do their thing.
There it is.
After tomorrow. But you know, it's something about episode 606 that just rings nice to the ear. So welcome to episode 606 on the Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast show discovering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports. For institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCUs, athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. In short, we call it just HBCU sports pedagogy. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. As I said, Mike Washington is out on assignment. We're here filming from our home studios and sending a signal live, KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper. I got a chance to join him on the show yesterday, and he did what he did with all those great questions. But, you know, I tried to represent and make sure I provided the answers that he needed from a HBCU business perspective, but I enjoyed it. Still at home, but from the comforts of the Texas Southern University framework, certainly here in Houston, Texas. With that being said, Charles, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Doc, and I want to send a huge shout out to all those Sonic Boom alumni, Sonic Boom to the South out there in Los Angeles. Of course, Sonic Boom to the South, they'll be marching in the Tournament of Roses parade tomorrow, but I tell you, my timeline has been filled up with former Boomers out there in Los Angeles, proud as a peacock out there, really enjoying the sights and sounds of Jackson State being out there at the Tournament of Roses parade. So shout out to Dr. Roger Little out there. He's doing a tremendous job in terms of what he's doing with that band program.
Good stuff, good stuff. Won't mention too much into it, but it sounds like they got the best of the two assignments out of the two HBCU programs having options in terms of parades coming at the end and first of this year.
Oh yeah, good point.
I'm just saying the other one is not going well among some folks out there.
You know, and it's very interesting. You bring that up and give the Tournament of Roses some contextual history. Mississippi Valley State was that first HBCU band to go out there and to participate in the Tournament of Roses parade. So history comes back at you in a different way, you know, in terms of now. But back in 1965, Mississippi Valley State was the first HBCU band to go out there to the Tournament of Roses parade. So huge thing that we've had many bands come through the years, and Jackson State is getting their opportunity now.
Good stuff. So we're going to end the year with the lab. I'm certainly excited about that as we close out 2024 and we head into 2025. We'll give you a show that covers some of the moments, at least from our perspective. We love to hear from your perspective. What were some of the greatest HBCU moments? But we'll do like we normally do. Today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting, educational, and consulting, as well as data analytics. With that being said, let's get into some of the news of the day. We also have a segment where we'll bring you some HBCU awards, courtesy of HBCU Legends and Miles Mosley, as Kyle Mosley, as he brought it to everybody yesterday. Kind of get and go back and forth and see your thoughts in terms of who was on the list. Maybe get a chance to some of the other ones that were on the list that were recognized in terms of those that were voted upon and those that actually got it. So fascinating to see what that looks like. Without further ado, Charles, what's on your mind in terms of news of the day?
Yeah, let's take a look at some of the SWAC women's and men's basketball weekly honors. Let's take a look at SWAC has tabbed Alabama A&M's Kayla Walker and Alicia Wilson, along with UAPB's Dara Allen and Bethune-Cookman's Jordan Brooks for SWAC women's basketball weekly honors for their outstanding performances this past week. Walker was a key contributor for Alabama A&M during this past week of competition. She averaged 14.3 points per game while leading the Bulldogs in scoring for the week. Alicia Wilson was another key contributor for Alabama A&M. She averaged 10.6 points per game, also leading the Bulldogs in rebounding for the week, where she averaged 10 rebounds per game. And then we talk about Dara Allen for UAPB. She averaged 14 points per game this past week for UAPB during their non-conference outings against Hawaii and UTEP. And, of course, last week, Jordan Brooks put together impressive performances in the Wildcats' win over University of South Alabama, posting 18 points on 5 of 12 shooting, including a 7 of 7 clip at the free throw line, 6 rebounds, and assists with 3 steals. So those were your SWAC Women's Player of the Week.
Charles, think about this. Next time we do the show, not only will it be 2025, and we got to get used to saying 2025, which is always a challenge first of the year for some, but it will also be basketball season officially, meaning that we will have the new format of the SWAC where the women's will play their games, solo games on Thursday. So next time we have a show, we'll be entering into that phase where the SWAC will have the women's games on Thursday next week, which catches a pair of games in terms of those games right here in Texas, with Texas Southern and Prairie View doing their home women's basketball games on this Thursday. So that'll be fascinating to kind of check out when the Louisiana schools come in here and get things started. So I'm intriguing with that. With that being said, do my last little shift, I guess, for some of it. We still have some teams that haven't named the head football coach, but we had 2 that did. One of them we pretty much heard about, but it's become official now. The NFL great Deshaun Jackson named head football coach at Delaware State. In his first hire as athletic director, senior associate vice president for athletics and wellness, Tony Tucker announced that National Football League great Deshaun Jackson will become the next head football coach at Delaware State. Quote, Deshaun Jackson is a perfect fit for our institution, incredibly competitive, optimistic about the prospects for our collective future, I should say, and focus on the fundamentals of the institution, students first, end quote, said Tucker. Jackson is a Los Angeles native from Crenshaw District, played 15 seasons in the NFL with notable stints with Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Washington, all on the East Coast, oddly enough, with 2 of them being in the NFC East, all of which are areas of primary recruiting emphasis for Delaware State University. Jackson began his career as a big play wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles and continued to hold the record for the most 60-plus and 80-plus yard catches in the NFL. The 3-time Pro Bowler Jackson also played for the Los Angeles Rams and Las Vegas Raiders and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Fascinating to see there. Statement from Jackson emphasized rich tradition of HBCU student athletes that largely transforms professional sports in the latter half of the 20th century. Quote, HBCUs have much to be proud of in creating a more representative America, but that story is not simply a historical one. It continues to be written and includes the elevation of HBCU scholars, scholar athletes in every field in human endeavor, end quote, says Jackson. I like that quote. Great point. See, at least does some homework there. Quote, the opportunity for me to help write another chapter here at DSU, I should say, is a once-in-a-lifetime moment consistent with my journey as a young boy finding his way to manhood through mentorship, accountability, achievement, and discipline, end quote. Jackson continued, quote, if we build that kind of culture at Delaware State University, we will attract the right talent and radically change the trajectory of the program. I cannot wait to get started. Amazon Prime will release a documentary of Jackson's life this fall, end quote. Fascinating to see how the social media platforms and Amazon and Prime are really getting in the business of telling stories. I mean, that's we've kind of seen where the world is going, but it's fascinating. I've seen the interest of being able to connect previous coaches. Some of them now connected with HBCU programs or have been connected with HBCU programs to tell its story. So fascinating to see what that looks like. I don't think I got your thoughts on this hire, particularly after it's become official. What are your thoughts now, hearing a little more about what the athletic director as well as the coach himself, Jackson, have said?
Yeah, the question becomes, is it a good is the fit right for the university and the university's culture? And to that I say, what does Delaware State have to lose? I mean, you're talking about a program that has been, running on a treadmill for a while. So I think, after a while, alums get tired of getting their teeth kicked in. Let's try something different. So why not? So Deshaun Jackson gets an opportunity to head this program. I think when you take a look at it, you've tried it the conventional way. You've tried it, in the manner in which you've, attempted to do it. The assistant coach, the alum as a head football coach, you've been running in mud for a second or two now. So why not? Well, what do you have to lose? I know it's going to upset some people, but I'm like, what do you have to lose? I felt this same way when Jackson State was basically running in mud for 7 years. And when people mentioned Coach Prime and, everybody lost their mind, my attitude then was, what do we have to lose? Why not? And look how it turned out. So,
well, then somebody else has asked that question of African American Black folks. What else you have to lose? I'm not sure if that's the way I would put it. Does it ring quite the same? But yeah. I think I understand your greater point, and they'll close out the year with these zingers as you see. But I would say this, as somebody that's innovative in nature, I think that's where you're going. It's like they have checked the boxes previously, which is what I remind folks. It's not like they've always been innovative in their approach. They've done the traditional. They've come back with a coach that has been a head coach that had won the championship. They tried that. They brought in a coordinator. They brought in alumni that had NFL experience. So they've tried various head coaches. And so to your point, why not have the innovative approach and continue to try the next iteration of what may work? And so to that point, I agree with you that once you have tried the other ways and there's not a clear path, because I'm hearing that they potentially went in a different direction first and actually were rejected. And sometimes we don't know that kind of information, but we have the privilege of getting that information and putting it on the table. And once you think about that, it should bring a whole different dynamic, that they may have tried the more conventional route of going after a coach that has some experience. And if you've done that, and that's just one we know, and that's not to say that they may have had some others that they went after that also said no. When you add all that together, then it even makes more sense that you go in a different direction that many people may ask.
Yeah, sometimes you never know the no's before you got to the yes. So I think sometimes people, just getting an uproar and getting a tizzy behind, who they think would be the right person, but you never know the no's that a university had to go through to get to the yes. So, sometimes you kind of have to think about those sorts of things.
Right. And so we're just giving you that to think about. The other one is Alabama A&M named Sam Shade, or at least it was announced by the athletic director. I like the way that they coordinated this with the athletic director, Dr. Paul Bryant. he announced Sunday during the From the Hill podcast. That's a podcast that is dedicated to providing information on Alabama A&M, particularly from a sporting framework, as I like to call the sporting HBCU diaspora, doing it from Alabama A&M's framework. He was the previous coach at Miles College that took them to unprecedented heights, including the first playoff victory in the school's history after winning the regular season and championship game in terms of Miles College, bringing them back to prominence. They had won championships a couple of years ago, but dipped down a little bit. So he's coming on that way. Quote, "This is a new and exciting time to bring Coach Sam Shade to the Hill," end quote, Bryant said. Quote, "He brings a wealth of knowledge and proven success to the program ready to thrive. His vast resources in the state, impeccable relationship with his team made him the perfect candidate for Alabama A&M University," end quote. So Shade, a Birmingham native who played college football at Alabama before being selected in the 4th round of the 1995 NFL draft, previously led Miles College to an 18-15 record over 3 seasons, including, as I said, winning a championship with a record of 10-3 record in 2024 and a trip to the Division I playoffs. Well, oddly enough, he lost to Valdosta State head coach, who has transitioned himself and now become the coach of Prairie View. So we will get a matchup with these coach. I believe is my understanding next year as Alabama A&M comes on Prairie View A&M's schedule. I believe the first game Prairie View goes to Huntsville, and the following year, as you know, Huntsville will come to Prairie View. So that's interesting that over the next 2 years, we'll get to see these two people match up. Now, we haven't heard personally from Sam Shade, so I hope nothing is different there. I have reached out to him, and I'm sure he's taking care of his family and trying to close up things. So if we get a chance, we certainly will give him an invitation to come on the show. Just like any of these coaches, they want, or SIDs, ADs, if they want to have their coaches come on the show for an interview to showcase the new hires. We will provide the platform in that case. With that, give the last update, if you would, in terms of the MEAC superlatives, some of the men's and women's. And then we'll take our first break and come back on the side and talk about some of these other honors.
Yeah, let's take a look at the MEAC Weekly Men's Basketball Honors. Norfolk's graduate guard Brian Moore Jr. Was named the MEAC Player of the Week. Howard guard Blake Harper was named the Rookie of the Week. And Coppin State senior guard Julius Ellaby III, he earned the Defensive Player of the Week honors, respectively. Let's take a look at their stats real quick. We talk about Brian Moore from Norfolk State, 6'2", 185. He registered 33 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists in the Spartans' victory against High Point. Moore shot 61% from the field, and it was a perfect 7-7 from the free throw line. Looking at Howard Blake Harper, 6'5" freshman, tallied a career-high 34 points to lead the Bison against Hampton. He added 4 rebounds, 1 assist, and 1 steal while shooting 55% from the field and 80% from the free throw line. And finally, Julius Ellaby from Coppin State, the 6'7" redshirt senior, collected 12 points and 3 rebounds and 3 assists, 1 block, and 6 steals against Georgetown. So those are your MEAC Players of the Week.
Last thing I'll say is just wanted to give a little honor. A couple of days after Christmas, you have the anniversary, 132nd anniversary of the first HBCU football game played between Livingston Johnson C. Smith. At that time, Johnson C. Smith was Biddle College. So 132 years, man, just short, 3 years short of 135. That's amazing when you think about the start and where we are now. So with that, let's close on the first break and come back on the other side. And let's get into seeing who some of the media voted in the Sports Illustrated HBCU Legends distinguished People of the Year. That's nice. Coaches, administrators across the board. We'll see what that looks like and get some discussion. We'll give you the list of folks that were in the ranking, if you would, and kind of see what your thoughts are and what took place there. So stay with us. We'll be right back after this first break.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Looking for the ultimate cultural experience of 2025? The Zora Outdoor Festival of the Arts is where you need to be. From January 31st to February 2nd, Eatonville, Florida will come alive with incredible live performances from the Levert Experience and the Bar Cave. Immerse yourself in interactive art. Shop from over 80 vendors. Take a journey through history with a new virtual tour app. And enjoy family-friendly STEM activities. Plus, don't miss the unforgettable R&B tribute to the legends, honoring talents such as Whitney Houston, Marvin Gaye, and Luther Vandross. This is more than a festival. It's a celebration of Eatonville's rich cultural heritage. Visit zorafestival.org for tickets.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KeaversVoice.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Sonia from She Say Sports. Make sure to check us out every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on Black College Sports Network, YouTube, and Linktree. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a law, and who the ball, So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike and Charles. Mike is out on assignment, so we have Charles here. Charles, first, let me ask this. We had a 2024 HBCU Legend Honors celebrating excellence and achievement. And the inaugural HBCU Legends Honors recipients were announced by Kyle T. Mosley. They were announced just yesterday, but I'm not sure with you traveling if you had heard the announcement. Those were the winners. Did you hear the actual winners in every category?
Not in every category. No, I did not while traveling.
Great. So we can really play this out. I'm going to give you the list. And you can give me your thoughts on who you may have selected if you had a chance to vote. Mm-hmm. I did vote, and I'll tell you my vote, and then I'll tell you officially who won in that type of order.
I did vote. I just haven't seen the list yet.
Okay. Good stuff. The HBCU sports community, so you know who was on the list, so we'll go through that a little bit too, just so everybody can see the full dynamic that this wasn't just about somebody selecting, that you actually had the media folks select on what were a panel list of some of the great stories this year. The HBCU sports community celebrated another year of excellence across various conferences, including the SWAC, MEAC, CIAA, SIAC, HBCU AC as it has recently been renamed, and independent program. The 2024 HBCU Legends Honors were awarded based on votes from the selected group of media members and fans who believe the individuals had significantly impacted HBCU sports. Great idea, wonderful. We've seen this from a different perspective. HBCU sports did a award at the end of the year. Obviously, we and ourselves inside the HBCU Sports Lab kind of started it off with doing the AD top 7 list. And before that, let's go back a little bit in terms of history. We had HBCU awards going on up there in the East Coast. But why one of our fraternity brothers, I'll give him some love shortly, that used to do an actual ceremony where they brought people in to sit down when he did it. But he did it across the board, not just sports, did it for academics, presidents, institutions, which was a big deal in terms of what that looks like. But with that being said, there were a couple of areas where you had tie categories. HBCU Culture of the Year, HBCU Broadcast Network of the Year were tied in terms of the votes, the way it came out. There was a selected for HBCU student athletes, was more of a group. HBCU Legend broadcast journalism and the HBCU band honorees were also selected through this breakdown. Let's get into the first one. HBCU Shivers Not Dead. So we're going to start with the one. HBCU Woman of the Year. Sure, like you said, you voted. But the folks that were on the list as potential folks were Tamika Reed. That was at Jackson State, the women's head basketball coach. They won a championship and prevailed herself to a mid-major job, if you would, still at the Division I level. Jackie McWilliams Parker, who is the commissioner of the CIAA. Sonia Steels, the commissioner of the MEAC. Dr. Melody Webb, AD at Norfolk State, and Dr. Denisha Hendricks as well are some of the folks in the mix for this award. Charles, do you feel like saying who you voted for, or do you want me to go with said who I voted?
I would. Or who's the winner? Put it
The winner is, I voted for somebody that did not win the award, but I certainly agree with the winner here in a lot of ways. I did Dr. Melody Webb. I was interested in terms of what she's able to do for that entire program. Obviously, with this latest announcement, Michael Vick gave me a slight edge that she went out there with something a little different for a program after having a program that has won in everything, quite frankly, and is really doing some fantastic stuff in basketball. I mean, the team, obviously I took the vote before this, but the women's basketball team just got their second SEC win. This one over Auburn.
Saw that.
They're top 25 in the mid-major. The men's program last year was top 25 in the mid-major. They swept Chris Paul's tournament along with Delaware State that also swept the SWAC. So the men's basketball has a winning record in non-conference play. That's had that over the last couple of years. And so that's why I went in that direction. But it went to a basketball coach, Dawn Thornton, Alabama A&M, who's had some major success in big non-conference wins. Obviously prevailed Pine Bluff last year at the top of the conference. And now she's at Alabama A&M and squarely has them with one of the best non-conference records of this early non-conference town. But she's done a lot of great things. She's had a championship resume.
Yes.
And so Alabama A&M, Dawn Thornton, is HBCU Legends Women's of the Year.
Okay.
Any thoughts in terms of that part of the announcement?
No, I mean, a very deserving winner in terms of what Dawn has been able to propel herself to do from UAPB to now Alabama A&M. I know I voted for Tamika Reed in terms of what she was able to do at Jackson State. Yeah, undefeated, and like I said, propelled herself to a mid-major job. But just the breadth of her work at Jackson State, was one of those things that I kind of kept in mind with regards to that. I certainly think Melody Webb was deserving as well. But kudos go to Dawn Thornton.
Yeah, I think it was a great list, and so the fact that Dawn Thornton was on top of that list really gives additional kudos. Before we take our next break, let's go and look at the HBCU Man of the Year. I love who won this award. I went in a different direction, but you had T.C. Taylor, Kenneth Berry, Ashley Robinson, Michael Vick, Doug Williams. You can see that I'm on the business leadership side. I picked Ashley Robinson, which is not always fair, particularly when I saw that you had coaches that had the chance to be coaches and win, or administrators that had to have that chance. But I guess for some reason that's the direction I went. But the winner was none other than Doug Williams. Check out this resume when you think about it. And I'm not sure that I gave him credit for all this because he just does it. And you don't always think about people until it's pointed out. HBCU Legacy Bowl, Black College Football Hall of Fame, Black College Football Classic, HBCU Combine. He is the Washington Commanders executive. And with all the voters, media, you talking about doing it in terms of your peers and fans, Doug Williams was selected HBCU Man of the Year. What are your thoughts in terms of the men's side of the award?
I mean, absolutely deserving. And like you mentioned, you don't always see Doug in front of the camera, but it's all the things that he's doing in promoting HBCU football. When you talk about the Legacy Bowl, you talk about the Black College Hall of Fame, the HBCU Combine. In addition to being an executive with the Washington Commanders, I think it's absolutely deserving. I know my vote a long way was probably for Ashley Robinson, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of all the things that he's done at Jackson State. But you certainly can't, all candidates were very deserving, but I can see where Doug Williams would have won. That's
the direction I went. Just the fact that he was able to close out the deal. 3 Celebration Bowls in 4 years since returning to Jackson State. I think that's a significant. He started the framework. If anybody wants to talk about celebrity hires, he was the one that jumped out there first. And he's done it a mix with different types of coaches I put out there discussing on Ralph's show yesterday. So I think just the way that he's able to do it is amazing to me. And he picked T.C. Taylor to come back, who got it done this year for the entire program in many ways. The SWAC after FAMU knocked the door down, and now it's 2 consecutive years for the SWAC winning celebration.
I guess that's a great point. Yeah, you mentioned 3 Celebration Bowls in 4 years, and just having the
I'm just saying,
to be the first to kind of walk out there on that lonely plank for the quote unquote celebrity hire. That took some
moxie.
Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. Yes.
Thank you again. HBCU Athlete Student of the Year, Irv Mulligan, Jackson State University SWAC. Eric Phoenix, South Carolina State University MEAC. David Wright, Clark Atlanta University SIAC. Jada Byers, Virginia Union University SIAA. And Drayden Ellis, Tennessee State University Independent. So you had a selected student athlete of the year for each of the major conferences. Obviously, HBCU conference there, AC, just starts in terms of basketball season, so you didn't get an athlete of the year nominated in the area. Let's take our next break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll give you the coach of the year, athletic director of the year, conference of the year, commissioner, and get into some other ones, such as, I love this category, HBCU brand of the year. Who really got out there and put their brand out there and market it? Who got that? With that being said, let's take our next break and come back on the other side and get back into some of the HBCU Legends Year's Award as we wrap up 2020-24 and head into 2025. We'll be right back after this next break.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, trying to get down. It's like a loop machine.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Looking for the ultimate cultural experience of 2025? The Zora Outdoor Festival of the Arts is where you need to be. From January 31st to February 2nd, Eatonville, Florida will come alive with incredible live performances from the Levert Experience and the Bar Cave. Immerse yourself in interactive art. Shop from over 80 vendors. Take a journey through history with a new virtual tour app. And enjoy family-friendly STEM activities. Plus, don't miss the unforgettable R&B tribute to the legends, honoring talents such as Whitney Houston, Marvin Gaye, and Luther Vandross. This is more than a festival. It's a celebration of Eatonville's rich cultural heritage. Visit zorafestival.org for tickets.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. As we come to the end of the year in 2024, before you get out there and do what you do to end your year, make sure you're safe. And because we do want to see you in 2025. With that being said, we're going over the HBCU Legends brought to you by Kyle Mosley, as he brought in a lot of the HBCU media and some select fans to vote on some of the superlative stories and awards, if you would, recognizing some credible stories, which we'll do in our last segment to kind of see what your thoughts on some of these stories. But let's get back into it. We're going to get into the Coach of the Year. I'm going to give you these names and list out. This is the area, as I told you earlier, that there was a tie for this. Shout out to Tamika Reed. She was nominated for 2 categories. Unfortunately, she did not take home an award, but she was nominated for 2 categories, much like Ashley Robinson was nominated for 2 categories. So I think that says something. Even if you may not be able to take home the award announcement, the fact that you were nominated twice says a lot about your work. Also on this list, this is a long list. It was a lot of superlative on this list. So it was a hard category. So I certainly can see why people had various votes, and you ultimately had 2 that tied. You had T.C. Taylor, as I said, Chennis Berry, who just carried on with a couple of magical years and had another one, switching conferences in division, going from the SIAC as the head coach of Benedict Tigers to the head coach of South Carolina State Bulldogs, from the SIAC to the MEAC. Eddie George, that brought Tennessee State back into the conversation, getting a share of the OVC Big South Football Championship 4-way tie. You had Sam Shade, recently named as the coach at Alabama A&M. The Bulldogs moving over from Miles College, getting it done with the championship out of the SIAC. Dr. Alvin Parker, that made a deep run in the playoffs, getting a couple of victories on his way to facing Valdosta State with that. The Dr. Alvin Parker over there, the head football coach at Virginia Union. Dante Jackson getting it done, wiping off the cobwebs as Grambling State, I should say, won basketball championships. They had an NIA championship, but never had won the NCAA Division I tournament, winning the conference championship in the SWAC. But that is history, as Dante Jackson, the head basketball men's coach over there at Grambling, gets it done and won a game in the tournament, which I'm certainly assume a lot of the presidents and chancellors, including the commissioner, were happy with that, because the money just keeps running in as you win those tournaments and get the additional money. Kenny Blackney over there at Howard University has brought that basketball program into prominence for sure. And Larry Vickers over there, as we told you, Norfolk State from the AD, Dr. Webb getting it done. Part of that is the work that Larry Vickers is doing as the women's basketball coach at Norfolk State. The winner was a 2-way tie, T.C. Taylor of Jackson State and Eddie George of Tennessee State. You know how people have the energy of football, and it is the one put in your memory the most. And so you can see they got it done. Shout out to T.C. Taylor, as he is, along with Coach Eddie George, one of the quote-unquote celebrity hires. He gets it done. So celebrity hires are 2 for 2 in terms of conference championship, while a lot of folks are talking about different things. I got to put that out there, just saying what I'm saying. We'll see. Can we get a 3 for 3, a 4 for 4?
Say, never mind the fact they winning.
Hey, that is something to be said. It has worked. With that being said, Athletic Director of the Year, and I'm going to let you talk about both of these simultaneously if I announce that. The Athletic Director of the Year is Ashley Robinson. He was up against some of the great athletic directors getting it done, including over here at Texas Southern University, Kevin Granger, Dr. Kevin Granger, Tiffany Dawn Sykes at FAMU, previously AD over there getting it done. So a lot of ADs on the list. But being able to get it done is Ashley Robinson. I think I kind of told the story there a little bit in terms of what he's been able to do. But we just talked about his women's basketball coach being in the mix. His basketball program is at the top of the league standings, top 4 in a 12-member league. His baseball coach literally was a pitch away from a championship there in Atlanta. Kudos to Gremlin, who got it done, obviously. Want to make sure you say that. Softball team was in the mix and getting a champion. Volleyball team in the mix. So across the board, he did get one of the trophies for Champions of the Year in terms of the recognition of the overall health of the program. And he cuts it down and does it the final straw with the football championship for bringing back a lot of lore and excitement to Jackson State University. It's still folks celebrating their Christmas gift from Ashley Robinson and TC Taylor and the rest of the players and all those involved with this championship. So shout out to Ashley Robinson. I'll do this in combination because they all kind of mix together. You have the Southwestern Athletic Conference as the Conference of the Year and the Commissioner of the Year, which was all the commissioners, Jackie McWilliams we talked about, right, in terms of what that looks like. Shout out in terms of getting it done, Sonia Steele, Dr. Kiki Baker-Barnes, those in the way of getting it done. But Charles McCullen gets it done for the Southwestern Athletic Conference, Commissioner of the Year, which makes sense why you see a lot of folks voted for the Conference of the Year, Southwestern Athletic Conference. MEAC really had a lot of things in their favor the last couple of years, but it's quickly pivoted with the brooms coming out for the SWAC in terms of football, MEAC SWAC Challenge, and the Celebration Bowl. And this is the second year in a row that has happened. So a lot of kudos for what the SWAC, including the commissioners, got done. With that being said, one more, and I want to get your thoughts on all of these. HBCU Brand of the Year was Jackson State University, not Band of the Year, Brand of the Year, meaning those that were getting out there branding it. Jackson State, in multiple ways, was in the media. With those that cover Jackson State, give me a shout out for some of those on that side, but specific from an institutional perspective, what they were able to do to brand that and keep that brand. There's a ranking out there that talks about social media presence. You had Jackson State leading HBCU programs and one of the top in the country at the FCS level, certainly top 5. It had been top 2 in a couple of years. So you talk about the brand. So again, Charles, get your thoughts on these. HBCU Coach of the Year, TC Taylor, Jackson State, and Eddie George, Tennessee State. Man, that Southern Heritage Classic is ringing.
Oh, wow.
HBCU Athletic Director of the Year, Jackson State.
Yeah.
Brand of the Year, Jackson State. HBCU Conference of the Year, Southwestern Athletic Conference, and the Commissioner of the Year, Dr. Charles McCullen, Southwestern Athletic Conference. What are your thoughts in terms of the mix, man? A lot of Jackson State.
Yeah, a lot of Jackson State here. But obviously, you can't say enough about TC Taylor and Eddie George, what they've done with their respective football teams in terms of bringing Tennessee State back into prominence with a share of the conference championship this past season for Tennessee State. And then TC Taylor, the penultimate prize, the Celebration Bowl victory, and the way that he refashioned his roster to look in the manner that he wanted to look. And that is a very physical football team. They were able to go out there and get it done. You mentioned all the great things that Dr. Charles McClellan has done with the Southwestern Athletic Conference and how they are, absolutely one of the most visible, HBCU conferences out there. And they continue to be innovative. We saw this past year with just the SWAC digital network. Now they're broadcasting football games. So I think that was a huge step in the right direction. When you talk about A.D. Ashley Robinson, he's waking up echoes of Jackson State in the 80s where every team was competitively within the top 3. The days of Dr. Walter Reed at Jackson State, his name is going to start to be mentioned along with Dr. Reed. So what he's been able to do in his time at Jackson State and to be innovative, to be daring, You can't say enough about him. And then the fact that he leads with the Jackson State brand on his sleeve. You know, he comes out with that team, and he's very supportive of all those teams. So it's nothing to see him on the plane supporting whomever. And then when you talk about the brand of the year, you can't say enough. Jackson State has done a tremendous job in terms of keeping their brand visible, keeping their brand out there. Travis Jerome, sports information director, does a tremendous job of getting the information out there to speak on Jackson State. The social media team for Jackson State, they are tremendous in terms of highlighting Jackson State on all social media platforms to where they stay on your timeline in some manner. So that's huge in terms of where we are within college athletics. That's Everybody right. has taken that next step with regards to branding themselves and continuously branding that university. And Jackson State is, the tip of the spear. They're sort of leading from the front, if you will. Whereas just a few short years ago, you could not say that. And now it is completely changed.
Good stuff. Good people are arguing about 2025. What they're going to do, football. A little basketball talk out there as well. I'll take our next break and we'll close up on this. I did want to get a shout out. I don't want to give everything here. You can go and check out the article for those that have not. But we still have the HBCU Broadcaster and Network of the Year. You had the HBCU Newcomer of the Year, HBCU Store of the Year. I'll throw this out there. Jackson State Tigers Celebration Bowl victory was judged as the Story of the Year, another Jackson State story. And then you have HBCU Legends of Broadcast Journalism. You have the HBCU Band of the Year that was also put out here. So go check those out. I do want to shout out the Legends of Broadcasting and Journalism. Charlie Neal, HBCU Go. Ralph Cooper, Case-Waste Houston. You have Tiffany Green, ESPN. Jay Walker, ESPN. Donald Ware, Box to Row. Bill Roden, ESPN and Scape. Checked him out last year as they brought back the sports reporters and they were doing up their wrap-up of the year. That was a little going back memory lane in terms of folks that you saw get it done. I like this one. Don Hunt, Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame news writer, always putting in great work, has since retired. Give him a shout out. Stephen Gaither, HBCU Game Day, one of the hardest working people in the business. Charles Edmond, Alcorn State Radio, one of the last of the dying breed of the radio broadcasters, especially somebody that does all the sports and finds a way to get it in. And shout out to Reggie Flood, WBOK, New Orleans. A lot of good work going in there, so wanted to shout all them out. In terms,
did you mention yourself?
Yeah, you don't do that. I'm glad you did. I appreciate it. Let me say something.
Kudos to you, Dr. Cavil, in terms of being on this list as well. Absolutely a legend within the broadcast and journalism game. And I want to say, it is to be in proximity of legends. It is really something that I don't take for granted. A lot of you all I see as mentors, whether you're talking about yourself, of course, with doing broadcasting games now, I'm able to get great nuggets from Charles Edmonds, Tiffany Green, and Jay Walker in terms of the do's and don'ts of doing play-by-play on games. So very appreciative. Stephen Gaither always gives us studio time when we're over there in Atlanta. Very appreciative of that as well. But everybody on this list, and of course, grew up listening and watching Charlie Neal. So and Ralph Cooper, can't say enough about Ralph in terms of we mention his name every time we start the show in terms of being a Texas radio legend and what he has meant to all of our careers. So very appreciative, and kudos to Kyle for putting this list together.
Yeah, kudos to Kyle. Go check out the list. Go see everything that was over there. Like you said, we just want to give you a couple of nuggets. Go read it. Check out the page. Great job by Kyle getting this done, as he said, Kyle Mosley. With that, let's take our last break. We'll come back on the other side and get some of our personal thoughts on some of the big events of the year. I certainly want to see what direction Charles is going, how much he goes back into the hole. Because like I said, some of y'all just front runners. Y'all like the latest story. Let's go back. What was some of the stuff that started off early in 2024, going back to the basketball season?
Yeah.
We touched on it a little bit. Grambling State Tigers getting it done. Jackson State Tigers on the women getting it done. Baseball was out there. Softball. I want to know what direction you're going with this. We had volleyball earlier this year. With that being said, let's take our last break and come back on the other side and see what were some of your stories.
It's coming on.
Looking for the ultimate cultural experience of 2025? The Zora Outdoor Festival of the Arts is where you need to be. From January 31st to February 2nd, Eatonville, Florida will come alive with incredible live performances from the Levert Experience and the Bar Cave. Immerse yourself in interactive art. Shop from over 80 vendors. Take a journey through history with a new virtual tour app. And enjoy family-friendly STEM activities. Plus, don't miss the unforgettable R&B tribute to the legends, honoring talents such as Whitney Houston, Marvin Gaye, and Luther Vandross. This is more than a festival. It's a celebration of Eatonville's rich cultural heritage. Visit zorafestival.org for tickets.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Sonia from She Say Sports. Make sure to check us out every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on Black College Sports Network, YouTube, and Linktree. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page.
Morehouse College and Tuskegee University men's basketball teams were selected to compete in the 2025 NBA HBCU Classic presented by AT&T. The fourth annual NBA HBCU Classic will be played in the Bay Area as part of NBA All-Star 2025 and will once again celebrate the rich traditions, on-court athleticism, and commitment to excellence of the HBCU community. For tickets, visit nba.com/all-star.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Mills inside the HBCU Sports Lab. As Charles gets a nice little chuckle there. Charles, what are some of your? I know people are sending you messages, cheat coding, trying to get you to tell their moment. I want to know your moment. We're gonna look maybe at 3 to 5 moments, depending on how we get to dialogue on it. So this doesn't necessarily have to be your top. We're gonna talk about a couple of moments.
Okay.
What is one of your moments? And obviously, I need you to tell me why was it such a memorable moment for 2024 in your mind?
I will go back to the SWAC baseball tournament. On a personal note, the very last game, the gentleman doing play-by-play, Santoria Black, he had a plane to catch. So I had to come up from the sideline and call the last 3 innings.
We talking about baseball now. You got
to talk about baseball.
Pinch
right. Exactly. The championship game. So I had a pitch hit there in the championship game. The last couple innings of Jackson State and Grambling, of course, Jackson State and Grambling went down. It was super exciting with Grambling coming up with the victory there on, just a bang play, and the way it played itself out. Grambling was able to come in for the winning score, but that was a personal something for me in terms of top things in 24. Of course, the Celebration Bowl. After having been there a couple of times, 21, 22, being down on the sideline with Coach Prime and that Jackson State team and not be able to get it done. And then TC to come in this season and get that Celebration Bowl win. That was huge, not just for Jackson State, but for the city of Jackson. That really rallied in behind this Jackson State football team. So that obviously was a huge one for me. And then I'm going to go back, I think, to basketball season, Doc. That was really special to see Grambling. Grambling's men's basketball come away with a historic victory, with you will, over Texas Southern. So that was huge in terms of being able to be there and witness that.
Yeah, it was amazing. I'm going to go back to your first one with the Grambling State baseball. I was memorable for me because this is something now that Deuce and I do annually. He comes to the baseball tournament with me. It's his last day of school. He gets out half a day early because they allow everybody to check out. And so we had last couple of years, we've been in Atlanta. Before that, we started when we were in Birmingham. And the first year we did it, when we were in Birmingham. If you let me go back memory lane a little bit, we went up to the College World Series that same year in the summer, and on our way back, we go to the Negro League Museum in Kansas City. So it was a full weekend, and so he's really gotten into this. The coaches talked with him and everything. Bethune-Cookman coach, shout out to him, giving him love and making sure that signing the baseball, getting him a baseball, and more importantly, getting him a cap as he already has started, making sure that he falls in love with baseball as he was. But Cameron Buford, and listening to Deuce up there, because I'm talking to Dr. Kevin Granger, and we in the booth sitting in here, and he's like, don't pitch it to him. And hear him see that, because Cameron Buford had a tournament. I mean, he knocked off FAMU. I mean, classic games, such beautiful games. FAMU in those matchups. Bethune-Cookman, the baseball they played, Alabama State, Jackson State, Grambling State, great baseball. Prairie View getting out of that game with Texas Southern, getting it done, and Texas Southern winning the game against the rival Prairie View to edge out and clinching the championship. The overall championship for Texas University was magical in terms of that tournament, which literally is the last game of the academic year, as softball was decided a little earlier, which had a great tournament itself. But Cameron Buford was incredible. Talking about the SWAC championship game, it was funny because we traditionally go and watch the game in the booth. And Mike does his things in the third quarter where he leaves the booth and he goes into the tournament. Charles usually leaves, and gets down to the field to get some sights and get prepared and make sure we can get you some insights and things. But this year, Charles gets the feeling and the motion. So he says, hey, I'm going to go check out some stuff early. He never comes back. He never comes back. I literally have to bring his bag down. I knew where he was and how he was feeling. I said, don't worry about it. I got you. I got all your stuff. You looked up. You taken care of. Mike, for his credit, he gets excited with folks, and he usually comes back. He didn't make it back either. Even though he tried to get back up there, I took everybody down. The game started rolling. So I saw the thrill in Charles' eyes and how for a split moment he was able to move from the media side to being a dear-long fan and seeing the championship. And then it's such a professional, he switched right back into it. But it was funny. And I had a chance to even say congratulations. And the fact that we got a chance to celebrate with you, celebrate you and Jackson State was nice in terms of our annual state dinner. We started that last year. Shout out to FAMU when they got it done for a years-long work in terms of kind of culminating from that perspective. So it's good to see that. And like you said, going in terms of the basketball tournament and then getting to see Grambling get it done and winning a big game of the first four was big. So great moments for me. One that I'll talk about, I got a chance to see a little about the MEAC basketball, the MEAC tournament. Getting a chance to fulfill that was a great opportunity. It was a big moment to see much of that go down the first couple of rounds of that tournament. Incredible basketball, seeing the energy that's played up there was huge. So that was a big moment for me in terms of what was on the field. I want to give a little love in terms of FAMU getting it done in terms of the volleyball tournament this year, bouncing back. I thought that was huge, seeing what they got to do there. And just that softball tournament. Overall, the totality, obviously, kudos to the champion getting it done in terms of that. Jackson State in terms of what that is. But just the ladies and the energy of that tournament. And it's one that's really in a tough time, so I don't get to go to that tournament, but I watch it. And it's one of the best tournaments to watch in terms of television because no matter what, there are always exciting plays in that, and you can see by the excitement, you watching folks tune into it, the numbers go up, what they do digital network, the calls on the games, what you're able to do from a side analyst that they've added that now, getting to talk with the coaches. And so just seeing where that has come in excitement and just how deep that is on the softball side with some of the great teams and the storylines that goes into it. So that, for me, just the tournament overall is exciting in terms of what that looks like. In terms of some of the stuff that is connected with sports, if you would, Charles, but are off the field a little bit in terms of whether it's coaching changes, program dynastic things taking place, or you starting to see in the mix, or with some of the things that are not so kind, if you would, is one way to put it. Those things that are kind of off the field. What are some of your top stories that are memorable, from that perspective? Whether it's a new coaching hire for this year, what were the storylines for you?
Obviously, I think former Florida A&M coach Willie Simmons leaving the program, going to Duke, and now he's the head coach at Florida International.
It all happened in a year.
It all happened within a year. So I think that was phenomenal. Probably on the not so good side, but I think it took up quite a bit of space within the HBCU environment was the whole thing with Florida A&M, the donation. I think that was something that comes to mind.
I don't know how you can put that all so much. Willie Simmons leaving is one part of it, but then you had the embroiled controversy of the head coach, who was the coach, who was not the coach. Ultimately, you have a financial case that came in that was going to be transformative for athletics, obviously university as well, but it was tied to athletics. Some people believe in some ways that it led to the president deciding to step down and resigning. Certainly, with the interim president came in, it cost the previous athletic director, Don Sykes, the job in terms of her role. New leadership turnover. So I'm almost putting that all at one.
Yeah, I guess that all is one. When you think about the domino effect of everything that, kind of happened with that. One that we didn't think about that really was, I thought we were all tuned into, that was Langston's deep run in Division II. Division II basketball.
Everybody was a Langston fan for that championship game. It was so close. You just knew they had the championship, and it was like, no, not this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's another good.
And then, I have to throw this out there. Travis Hunter, former Jackson State football player, he won the Heisman. That's huge to me. That when you start kind of taking a look at that, where you saw where his career started. He, Shedeur Sanders, and what they were able to take off and do. And now, you're talking about a potential top 5 quarterback and a Heisman Trophy winner that were all playing in the Southwestern Athletic Conference just a couple of years ago.
All my brothers through college, Jackson State included. That was my learning grounds. That was my proving grounds. I had to start somewhere, and I started there. Thank y'all, Jackson State.
That's pretty big. Nice little
nice drop,
there.
Roy. Yeah.
Nice drop. Great job, Roy, in terms of pulling that in there. Staying with a little bit of football, Virginia Union and Miles College doing historic runs, if you would, both getting their first victory in their school's history in terms of the playoffs. Virginia, you getting 2, and so in the last 5 years, you've seen somebody out of the CIAA making to that quarterfinal round in terms of the regional finals, which is a big deal. And Virginia Union is the last one to do it. So that's fascinating what you see with that in the mix in terms of that. Obviously, all those coaches from Valdosta State, Miles, you still have a position out there. Do we get Dr. Parker over at Mississippi Valley State? All the coaches that had the run in terms of that, with that being said. And so let's make that a closing point of the year in terms of what's taking place there. A lot of fond memories. Any last thought that you want to share before we close out and make it a show today, and wish everybody a happy New Year's?
Yeah, it's been a memorable 2024. Kudos to all those administrators, players, and coaches who have made 2024 a phenomenal year. Very appreciative of being able to be in this environment to cover some of those exploits and to broadcast some of those exploits. So I definitely want to thank you, the viewer, who tunes in, week out. to see what we have to say in regards to those exploits. So very appreciative of all those things. And by all means, have a safe night going into 2025.
Certainly great way to close. Final thoughts here is thank you for taking a ride for Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, doing it with us weekly. Some trips where we live on the road, some of the trips where we're here in the studio, sometimes when we're on the site. Want to say a very happy new year on behalf of HBCU, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, on behalf of BCSN, all of our channels here, with Roy, the producer, and what he does with Jericho Networks, Black College Sports Networks, obviously from all of those key players with the ONG Strike Zone, if you would, getting it done. Obviously, AD Brian with HBCU Sports Rap, Carlos Brown with his show, and the independents now in terms of some of the folks that come in here and do some stuff, and those that have come into the lab and held it down for us as we were moving around and trying to get things done. So I want to have that shout out. Do you have one last shout out you want to do, Charles?
I just thought of a couple of off the field.
Yep.
You had Jackson's Sonic Boom the South perform at the Super Bowl, and then Texas Southern, Ocean Soul. They just had the Beyonce.
Oh, the Beyonce. People talking about the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
How could I forget those two things? Yeah, big shout outs. Can't forget that. Certainly connected with that. But with that being said, have a very safe, happy New Year's 2025 on behalf of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Watson and Charles Bishop. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson and Charles Bishop on Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock. And one last thing, shout out as we move our poll rankings from Tuesday to Sunday. That was a big deal this year, and a lot of people were excited about that movement and worked out well. So in the fall, we'll come back with the Sunday lineup, including the announcement of the top 7 from that perspective, and that happens at 9 a.m. For the spring, we'll just give you updates during our regular time, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Wednesday for the independents. But follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. That's DrKenyattacavil on Facebook and Instagram. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on Facebook and YouTube. Dream big. Continue to move forward. Charles?
Of course.
Roy?
Lecture.
Dismiss.